Hey, Elise Pickett here with the Urban Harvest, and today we are going to be doing a Gardening 101 lesson on growing beans. Planting beans in your vegetable garden is a wonderful crop, not only because they're usually really high yielding, but because it's a nice boost of protein in your diet. So most of our vegetables do a lot of other things for us, but beans provide us with protein. I definitely plant a lot of beans. We're partial to dry beans. I do a lot of cowpeas and pole beans. I do have another video that discusses the differences between the kind of beans and what those varieties can do for you, when to plant them and all that. So if you're interested in learning more about that, make sure to check the link above. But today we are going to be talking about more basic stuff. So this is kind of a Gardening 101 introductory lesson on growing beans or legumes. So growing beans and peas for that matter, they're both in the legume family, and they have, we're going to go a little sciencey here, they have a symbiotic relationship between the plant that grows the bean and bacteria. And most plants take nitrogen out of the soil. That's what they use to grow the plants. Beans, on the other hand, have developed this, and all legumes have developed this relationship with a bacteria, where the bacteria actually, it's called fixing. It takes nitrogen from the air and converts it into nitrogen for the plant to use. So instead of it taking it out of the soil, it's actually putting it into the soil. That's why beans are a wonderful crop rotation to use in your garden, because it's actually replenishing the soil instead of stripping it quite as much as some of the other vegetable crops you may grow. Because of this relationship, and especially if you're just starting gardening, the bacteria that help boost legumes, peas, and beans may not be present in very high numbers in your soil, especially if you're doing a bulk soil delivery and just getting that soil ecosystem started. During that time, I would highly recommend doing some sort of inoculant or booster. And basically what that does is it seeds the soil with those good bacteria that it has that relationship with. And when you do that, it allows the plant to grow nice and healthy and strong, and it seeds the soil for future growing. So when you're first getting your beds established with beans or peas, make sure to use an inoculant. Using an inoculant might sound intimidating for the beginner gardener, but there's really not much to it. Basically, we're just seeding that bacteria into the soil with the peas or the beans so that they can immediately form that relationship in higher numbers. There are a lot of different brands, seed companies, and varieties. So if you want to get very specific, there's different bacteria that help different beans or peas. So depending on the variety, you could do each one specific to each plant. The bean booster is really good because it's all of the different bacteria in one. So technically there could be some excess that you didn't necessarily need to put into the soil. But I find that it's a really good way for the beginner gardener to get all of those bacteria living and thriving in the soil, and especially if you're doing any sort of crop rotation, eventually the odds are you'll end up with one of those beans or peas in that area anyhow. So I just really like this because it's easy. You don't have to sit there and buy 3 or 4 different bags of inoculant. You just get one and you're done. Now to growing your beans. It's not too difficult. I like to create a furrow in the soil, which is basically a shallow trench. Bean seeds are a little bit bigger, so they can be planted deeper than, say, a lettuce seed. A general rule of thumb is the depth of the seed is the depth you plant it. And the variety that I'm planting is Big Kahuna, which is a nice compact variety, so you don't have to have it spaced that far apart, about 6 inches or so. And all you're going to do is dig your furrow and then place the beans into the furrow And always seed a little bit closer than the recommended spacing distance so that if one doesn't germinate or a pest comes through or one of them just doesn't thrive, you still have plenty to fill in that space. And then we do the inoculants. So the inoculants is a black granular substance, and you just sprinkle it on top of the beans. You don't have to be stingy with it. You can't put too much to hurt it or anything like that. And then we're going to cover the furrow. So you just pinch the soil back on top of the beans. The inoculant is now in there with them to get them that boost. You pat them in, and then it's time to water. I hope you found this Gardening 101 video on how to grow beans in your vegetable garden was helpful. I'm trying to cover as many topics as possible, so if this intro to vegetable gardening was of interest, or if you're looking for different topics, that feedback helps me give you guys the content you're looking for. So make sure to leave me a comment below if there's anything that you would like to learn more about, and I will try to get a video out on that topic as soon as possible. And while you're down there, make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you're alerted every time a new video comes out on Florida-based vegetable gardening. Happy gardening!